Hello and welcome to Never a Truer Word, where we look at the words that people choose to use to see if they're telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And we're back with Scott Peterson. He's been talking from prison. He's been giving interviews as part of a new documentary called Face to Face with Scott Peterson. First time the guy has spoken in more than 20 years. So in this episode, we're going to look at what he has said in those interviews, or at least what he is reported to have said in those interviews, to see if we can get any idea of where the guy is at. As you're here, I'm presuming you are familiar with Scott Peterson. He's currently serving in prison for murdering his wife and their unborn child. It's a horrible story, and he seems to be a horrible guy. I've broken him down in another couple of episodes. I'll link to those in the show description if you want to check them. But I analysed him at a time when he was pretending that he was looking for Laci. He had nothing to do with her disappearance. Has anything changed in the 20 plus years that he has been in prison? That's what we're going to find out. But just a couple of warnings, right? So at the time of recording, the documentary has not been released. So I'm just going on some press quotes as to what Scott Peterson says in these interviews. And journalists have a hell of a habit of changing quotes and using words they think might just work that little bit better. So we need to see the documentary to see if he actually did use these precise words, because we are very clear here. We look at the words that we see and nothing else. Also, I'm going to spot some things are missing, some things that I would be more reassured to hear, or some things that are blatantly not present. What I spot is missing. It might be in the full interviews, so I just want to have that caveat in your mind as well. But let's go and look at the words of Scott. The first quote I've got here is, he says, "I would see Laci smile and she would do her hair on the morning of the 24th. And the way we would share a bowl for cereal because we were too lazy to do two bowls. Just those little things are still with me." Bizarre one to start off with. We'll see here that he seems to be talking in the general. He would see Laci smile when she would do her hair. So that seems to be like a memory he has carried a lot, or he saw a lot. And hey, we would share a bowl of cereal because we were too lazy to do two bowls. So it's repetitive things that he seems to be talking about there. And yet he says when she would, so that's in general, do her hair on the morning of the 24th. Now, 24th is the day that she went missing, that he killed her. So why is he talking in all these general terms and then sticks this very specific mention of doing her hair on the morning of the 24th in there? It's just bizarre. It could be this guy just doesn't have the authentic language to share his sweet recollections of his wife, and it's therefore he has to bring them from a place where he's making them up. That's when things don't flow when we talk about them. If we haven't experienced it, it's very hard to pull together authentic language to make it sound real. That's what could be happening here with all these woulds, and she would do her hair on the morning of the 24th. That's just weird. These are the things that he remembers about Laci, and he refers to them as just those little things are still with me. Those little things, which is interesting. Yeah, he was married to Laci, and yet he can't talk about any of her bigger qualities, what a person she was, how she reacted with others, how she was with him. He can't talk about anything like that. The only things that he can remember, or the things that he thinks are most important to remember, or the things that come out first, are doing her hair and smiling and sharing a cereal bowl with him. No, that just is not, again, very authentic. Or does he have no fond memories of Laci? And just look at how this refers to himself. And this is classic Scott Peterson. It always all comes back to him. So it's not the fact that Laci was happy that he liked. It was the fact he could see it. I would see Laci smile. It's not her smile was beautiful, she looked so content, she was a happy person and that made me happy. No, it was I would see Laci smile. And then talking about the cereal bowl, it's not something Laci did on her own. It wasn't giving Laci anything at all by herself. It's the fact that we would share a bowl for cereal because we were too lazy to do two bowls. And those things are still with me. So actually, his memories of Laci are all about himself. What he would see and how he and her would share this bowl for cereal. His memories of Laci, all about himself, and that is very on brand for Scott Peterson. Another quote here from him. I regret not testifying, but if I have a chance to show people what the truth is, and if they are willing to accept it, it would be the biggest thing that I can accomplish right now, because I didn't kill my family. He starts there with, I regret not testifying. Now that's really straightforward. Remember, simplicity reveals, complexity conceals. And that is really simple and straightforward. I regret not testifying. I believe it. I believe he regrets not testifying. He wants to have a chance to show people what the truth is. Now let's think about what that truth is. He's talking about a singular truth there. And if you look at it from his point of view, then if he believes that the truth is that he didn't kill Laci, that on the morning she went missing, he was out on his boat fishing, then that's the truth. Well, it's one truth, isn't it? Because actually, if that is true, there is another truth, which is what happened to Laci, who killed her and why. But he's only talking about a singular truth. And I bet that that's his truth, that he wants to persuade people that the truth is, I didn't kill Laci. But really, if that was true, he shouldn't know the full truth. But he just talks about this singular truth, not what happened to Laci, just the truth, i.e. what I was doing. And he doesn't really think he's got much of a chance here. He wants to show people what it is. Yeah, just show the truth. I'm going to show it, not prove it, not explain it. It's show. Yeah, and then he realizes that people have to be willing to accept it. Again, if it was the truth, and if he could prove it was the truth, it wouldn't matter. People wouldn't have to accept it. If it was proof, if there was something black and white proof that he didn't do it, people wouldn't have to be willing to accept it. People would just get it and go, oh my God, yeah, you've proved it. But no, he thinks people would have to be willing to accept it. So again, sort of manipulative language that's going on here. Now, he says at the end there, I didn't kill my family. Quite straightforward again. I didn't kill my family. What's going on there? It could just be a barefaced lie. What's in his interest to say? I killed my family? No, I didn't kill my family. It could be a just barefaced lie. But people hate lying. Even someone like Scott Peterson, they'd much rather tell the truth or tell a very qualified version of the truth. And I think that's potentially what is happening here with the phrase, I didn't kill my family. Well, what is your family? He wants us to think that he's talking about Laci and the unborn child, but actually my family is much larger than that. And yeah, some of them are still alive, so you didn't kill your family. Yeah, so it is true, but you're not saying what you didn't do. I didn't kill Laci and the unborn child. That would be much more believable. That would be very straightforward. But this is, I didn't kill my family. Not a big fan of Scott Peterson, as you can tell. If you're enjoying this, hit the subscribe button and you will get more episodes like this as soon as they land, or the follow button if that's the one that's in front of you. The like button goes a long way to getting this to other people, especially with so much interest at the moment, again, in Scott Peterson. Then the like button will help this get to more people. Always interested in your comments as well. You can comment here if you can, or if you want to get in touch on socials, you will find the link in the show notes. If you're watching on YouTube, if you become a channel member, then you will get episodes like this before anyone else. You will have a chance to see them before anyone else gets a chance to see them. If you're watching on Spotify and you subscribe, you get the same thing. You'll also get exclusive episodes and priority commenting as well. That is if you become a channel member on YouTube or if you subscribe on Spotify. Let's get some more from Scott Peterson. And this is him talking about the fact that the police said that he was fleeing to Mexico when they caught him. And he says, I don't understand that at all. I just want to be clear. I was never running from the police. We've got some controlling language here. I just want to be clear. And I see this from liars and deceivers all the time. They think that by saying, I just want to be clear, then that makes the lie more believable, or, oh, well, if you want to be clear, then it must be true, is the thought that they think will go through someone's mind when they say, I just want to be clear. So that phrase, I just want to be clear, is a red flag for deception. Again, it's just a red flag for deception. I don't want you going off and every time someone says, no, look, let me be clear, you're going to go, they're lying. It's a red flag for deception. It's potential deception. And this guy, it's a very high likelihood that we're getting deception here. He says, I just want to be clear, I was never running from the police. Never. Another red flag for deception word. Again, it doesn't prove deception is happening, but never appears so often in deception. Kind of like, I would never take drugs. Well, I would never. That's in the future. It doesn't mean that you didn't take drugs. So if someone is being accused of taking drugs and they say, I would never take drugs, what they're really saying is, I don't plan to take drugs at any time in the future. It doesn't really clear up the fact that they may not have taken drugs in the past. That's why never, it's just not a very well defined word in use. So it's a red flag for deception. And he says, I was never running from the police. Well, and again, interesting. You don't clear up exactly what you were doing there, do you? You know, were you running from the police, or were you trying to cross the border in your head? You know, were you not running from the police? Were you trying to escape justice? Were you trying to start a new life? You know, you'll never ever know. But look, I was never running from the police is a phrase that is in the negative. In other words, he tells us what didn't happen, not what happened. You know, if he'd have said that I was scared for my life and I wanted to get to safety, that would be him telling us what happened. That would be telling us a reason for why he had all this stuff in the car, why he dyed his hair, and why he was very close to the border. That would be telling us what happened. But he doesn't do that. He only tells us what didn't happen. Another quote from Scott Peterson. This past Saturday, somebody made a mention on, and this is about an anniversary. I don't know which anniversary it is, I'm afraid, but it's a mention of an anniversary. So this past Saturday, somebody made a mention, and I was stunned. A guy I never would expect to show humanity, a guy I was working in the kitchen with that day, brought it up. So I'm guessing it's an anniversary, some sort of anniversary involving himself and Laci. And when someone brought it up, what was his emotion? He was stunned. I was stunned, is what he says. When somebody made a mention, I was stunned. Not saddened, not emotional, not nostalgic, didn't cry. He was stunned. And why was he stunned? He wasn't stunned because it was the anniversary, or it had been so many years since whatever it was the anniversary was, or that he didn't realise it was the anniversary and, you know, was saddened by, you know, how little he gave thought to it or anything like that. No, I was stunned because a guy I never would expect to show humanity brought it up. So he wasn't stunned by anything to do with Laci or the unborn child that are no longer with us. He was stunned because someone he didn't expect to bring up this anniversary brought it up. There is no mention of Laci in the anniversary and no emotion for Laci either. In fact, it's all about him. Look how many times he uses the word I around this anniversary. I was stunned. A guy I would never expect to show humanity. A guy I was working in the kitchen with all that day. It's all about himself. This is just typical Scott Peterson. It's all about himself. And by the way, look why he was stunned. Because what he's saying is that the person who mentioned the anniversary showed humanity. A guy I would never expect to show humanity brought it up. So this person showed humanity by bringing up the anniversary. Scott didn't bring up the anniversary. Does that mean there was no humanity from Scott? Is that what he's saying? He is saying here that this guy who brought up the anniversary showed humanity. He was stunned because he didn't bring up the anniversary, so no humanity from Scott. Another quote here, and this one has made some big headlines. It's horrible. I was a total a-hole to be having sex outside our marriage. So this is obviously him talking about at least one of the affairs that he had. Notice this is in the past tense. I was a total a-hole. So he's considering that he was at the time. He's not saying he is one now, just I was, used to be, was at that time a total a-hole. And why was he one? For having sex outside our marriage. Now, at first glance, that looks full and frank admission there, but it's very, very limited. The only thing that he judges himself to be an a-hole for is having sex outside our marriage. Not the cheating, not breaking the trust, not the flirting or the lying or anything like that. It's just that one act of sex outside the marriage. Is very, very limited. Again, it feels like He doesn't really believe this, but thinks it's a good thing to say to get people on his side. But because he doesn't believe it, he doesn't have wide-ranging, authentic language to convey that thought. This is him talking, I think, about the prosecution's theory about what he did to Laci and the unborn child. He says, "That is so offensive and so disgusting. I certainly regret cheating on Laci. Absolutely. It was about a childish lack of self-esteem. Selfish me travelling somewhere, lonely that night because I wasn't at home. Somebody makes you feel good because they want to have sex with you." What have we got here? He says that is so offensive and so disgusting. So he's turning up the severity on the offence and the disgust there, because he could have just said that is offensive and disgusting, but he wants to persuade us that he feels that way. He wants to turn up the severity. It doesn't change the meaning. If he had just said that is offensive and disgusting, it would have the exact same meaning as what he said. That is so offensive and so disgusting, but he wants us to really feel the severity, persuade us, manipulate us into thinking that he really, really does feel this. And then he tells us, "I certainly regret cheating on Laci." Absolutely. So again, these are words that are added in to persuade us. And this time it's to persuade us how much he regrets cheating on Laci. He could have just said, "I regret cheating on Laci." That would have been simple and straightforward. But no, he has to tell us he certainly regrets cheating on Laci. "I certainly regret cheating on Laci." Does he really? Certainly? And then he puts absolutely at the end of it, which is just one of those words that again triggers my red flag for deception. So there, because of him overly persuading us, that need to persuade us that he regrets it, using certainly and absolutely, I don't believe he does genuinely regret it. He talks about why he cheated. It was a selfish lack of self-esteem. He was lonely that night because he wasn't at home. So by the way, he wants you to feel really sorry for him. He had low self-esteem. He was lonely and he wasn't at home. In other words, it wasn't him that cheated on Laci. It was his circumstances that made him do it. That childish lack of self-esteem. He was lonely. He wasn't at home. It's all about him, and it's all about him wanting us to feel sorry for him. If he had better self-esteem, if he hadn't felt so lonely, hey, he wouldn't have cheated. And he explains why he cheated. He says, "Someone makes you feel good because they want to have sex with you." Someone makes you feel good because they want to have sex with you. This is not about him. It's non-specific. He doesn't say, "I felt good because someone wanted to have sex with me," or because Amber wanted to have sex with me. It's just someone makes you feel good because they want to have sex with you. It's not talking about the situation he was in at all. It is so non-specific. And by the way, you'll notice that it was someone's fault, not Scott's. Yeah, it wasn't Scott's fault for cheating. It was because someone made him feel good. Someone made him feel good, and that is why he cheated. It's someone's fault for making him feel good. Finally, the last quote I have is, "People want the answer they believed in to continue to be the answer. We're all slow to admit we're wrong." So he's got people here want the answer. Who? Which people? They believed in. Again, who is they? And then he's adding us all together. We're all slow to admit we're wrong. Now, I don't think there's very much wrong in that whole quote. People want the answer they believed in to continue to be the answer. We're all slow to admit when we're wrong. In general, it's kind of true, isn't it? We all want to be proved right, really. But it's just, again, not specific. What's he talking about there? He's not saying that people who hate me, they just want to be proved right. That's all. They don't really care about Laci. They don't care about the evidence. They just want me to suffer for it. But as a species, we're slow to admit when we are wrong. But again, he doesn't have the words to say that. And he can't tell us why we're wrong. He doesn't say that. So in all of that, in all of those quotes in the press before this documentary comes out, I've got some things that are missing. There's no concern for Laci and the child at all. No emotion for them, no sadness for them, no caring for them. In fact, they get scant mention in this whatsoever. There's no desire for justice for them. So Scott, really, in his headspace, if he is innocent, as he claims, then not only should he be wanting justice for himself, which is himself to be cleared, but he should be wanting to find out who did this to his wife, an unborn child, and he should be wanting those people to be brought to justice. And he expresses no desire for that whatsoever. And then there's no emotions or feelings in it, apart from being stunned that someone in the kitchen mentioned an anniversary. There are no emotions and no feelings. He is a very, very cold person. Or if he does have emotions, he does not like letting them out. He does not like talking about them. The only thing I would say is that those things that are missing maybe in the full interviews when they're in the documentary. But if you do watch the documentary when it comes out, then keep an eye out. Does he show any concern, sorrow, loss, or anything at all for Laci and the child? Does he express any desire for justice for Laci, or as opposed to justice for himself? And does he show any emotions and feelings? Keep an eye out for those when you watch that documentary. So in conclusion on Scott Peterson and what he's been saying from prison, it's all about Scott. And this is what I see time and time again when I see Scott Peterson talking. It's all about him. No desire to express any concern for Laci or her child. No desire for justice to be done, just for himself to be believed, for people to accept what he says is the truth. I think he does have regrets. I believe he regrets not testifying, which is strangely, but par for the course with Scott. I think not testifying is his biggest regret. I think he does regret cheating on Laci. Maybe he regrets getting caught or it became so public, but he does have some regrets around there. But he is unable to articulate feelings or emotions with any sense of authenticity at all. What do you think? Do let me know in the comments or get in touch on social media if you can. If you like this, please do press the like button. It helps it get to a load more people. You can share it with people who are interested in the Scott Peterson as well on your social medias, on WhatsApp, anywhere you want to share it, please share it. And if you want more episodes like this, the subscribe or follow button means you will get them automatically when they come out. Neveratruerword.com is the website. There you'll find a whole lot more podcasts, load more videos. You can sign up for the monthly newsletter and you can get in touch on the socials as well. And we'll see you soon for something new from Never a Truer Word.